We're going to start recording. It says it's recording already, so I guess there we are. Okay. So I'm Vance Stevens, and this is I also do something called Learning Together. This is episode number 445, and this is the 3rd of April, 2020. And we're in something even more important than that. We're in the EVO 2020 Best of EVO session, which would have been happening about this time in Denver right now, but we're online, which is a great thing because this presentation actually was, it's something we do at TESOL conventions. I think in Chicago, Jane was there, and also in Atlanta, Jane was there. And in Jane and I were actually in the Electronic Village somewhere presenting on Minecraft, and they were that session kind of overran with the Best of EVO session, which was starting up in another place, and we ran over to that place and got it going. But the thing was that they had on-site presenters. That's the way it's set up at the TESOL conferences. They have some people come to the conference and present on-site, and many more present online. So we were setting that up to happen in Denver, which should be happening about now, or maybe yesterday or the day before. But when the conference got canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which we're all unfortunately in the middle of, we were geared up to go ahead and do that whole thing online, because we set up a crowdsourced Google Doc, and I'll just show it to you. There it is right there. Oh, I have to click the share button. There we are. So this is the Google Doc. We're not canceled. We've moved online. The conference was canceled, but we were just geared up to do this at the conference. We were presenting live and online. We had a lot of online presenters scheduled to present with us. So we just continued to work here. So if you're looking for this document, I'll just put this in the text chat, I suppose. It's the tinyurl.com best 2020 EVO. So you can all follow this document if you want. I'll put it in the text chat as soon as I get back to it. And there's a table of contents here. And if I go to the schedule of presentations, I can show you that we are here. It's 13:46 right now. Jane and I are about to introduce this session. I'm doing that already. And then we're going to have these presentations that you see here. We have Mariana Serra, I saw her in the room, presenting classroom-based research. And Richard Smith, I saw him in the room, mentoring teacher research. And after that, we'll have Techno-Clil, Daniela and Letizia, and Maha Hassan in about an hour from now. We'll be doing CEFR versus assessment. And Nellie, who's here right now, will be talking about Moodle for teachers and tools for student collaboration. So all this will take place. If you click on any of these links, for example, if you want to know, well, if you want to go to, let's go to the introduction coordinators, because that takes us actually to what we're doing right now. I don't know if we want to be presenting this, but well, basically we're here. I don't know, Jane, is this a good place to start?
Yep.
Okay. Well, maybe I can hand over. Shall I hand over to you, Jane? Would you like to do that? No, not ready. Okay. Well, let's see. If I actually try to present this, I'll just go ahead and do that. Okay. So there we are. So we're right now at the Best of EVO online, and this is our. These slides, I should say, are all. If you go to that link at the bottom, I can't really see it back there. It's being covered up by something in the slide share. Okay, so anyway, basically, see if I can get back to it. Okay, so there, I can't see it in my screen. Anyway, at the bottom left-hand corner, there's a link, and all those links work. If you go to that link, if you can get to tinyurl.com/best2020evo, then you can find all the links for everything that's being presented here. So that's actually what you want to do. And you'll, including this slideshow. Jane, is it time for you to pop in?
Hi, everyone. I'm sharing the slide.
And you're Jane Xian, who's a
I'm
coordinator.
Jane. Yes, I'm Jane Chen. I'm from Taipei, Taiwan, from National Taipei University of Education, and glad that that everybody is here with us. Well, I was actually quite disappointed that TESOL, we couldn't go to TESOL Denver. It had to cancel all the hotel reservations and flights. And during the past couple of weeks, my students and I were trying to keep track of, like, up to date as to how different countries are coping with COVID-19. And here we are, a lot of teachers are now having to teach online. And there's songs about "I will survive COVID-19" teaching online in Zoom. And kids, my sisters, my sister is in Orlando, and their kids are like first grader, kindergarten. They had distant learning at home and all day long, and they're going on Google Classroom. And so I think this is a best time for all of us to be together for Best of EVO online. We've been doing this for quite some time now, and all of us are gathered together to share something that we have, like our sessions. And if we could discuss, go over like what we have, what sessions we provide for 2020 EVO 2020, and also if you have any, if we could discuss how we could cope with teaching online and share our experiences. And I think that would be wonderful. It's a very good time to share our expertise in teaching online. Yes. And this year, if you could, Vance, if you could go to the next slide.
Yeah, and incidentally, Christine is here. Maybe
Yeah,
Christine could say something about this. This is about the history of our interest, the Best of EVO, Electronic Village Online. Maybe Christine, this would be a good time for you to pop in.
Okay. Thank you, Vance, and thank you very much, Jane, for putting this on and for not leaving TESOL completely not happening. I was very glad to see that you guys were still up for doing this. And so I did put together the report, the annual report for the call interest section that we had started earlier, but I finalized it yesterday. And I was happy to see that you updated it on the slide here, Vance, or Jane, I had forgotten to do that. So we started this project in the year 2000, and as you may realize, this is our 20th anniversary of the founding of EVO. So it was definitely a special year for me and for Tom Robb and Susan Gare, who all would have been in Denver at the TESOL convention. And I had ordered a flag and was prepared to send it to TESOL actually the next day, and then things unraveled, and I actually forgot to take it to the post office. I left it at the house, and And then by the next day, everything had changed. So the flag says 20 years of EVO, so we can still celebrate that next year, because next year will be the 20th anniversary of the sessions, because we started our first 10 sessions of EVO in 2001 with 120 participants. So as you can see by the numbers here, that has skyrocketed since 2001. So this year we had 1,315 participants, and that is from the 14 sessions that reported. We actually had 15 sessions. So one of them we do not know the numbers from, and they came from 72 countries around the world. And that to me is just a tribute to the resiliency and the spirit and the stamina of teaching and learning online. And Jane, I really like what you said earlier. This has definitely catapulted teaching online into the forefront. And so I think all of us need to share our expertise in this. And I just submitted a proposal for a faculty development grant in my institution. Of course, everybody here is scrambling as well and just doing the best they can with teaching online and not having had much training in that. So a lot more will be coming from this. A lot of good will be coming from this, and we hope to reconnect in 2021 in Houston. And so there is a call for proposals for EVO 2021, and you see the dates here. We will be posting the call for proposals, and the deadline most likely is going to be September 13th. And then EVO 2021 for our anniversary sessions will be from January 9th to February 14th, which is Valentine's Day in 2021, so a special day. And I'm very happy to be announcing this, but I'm also very happy, and thank you for sharing this now. This is an incredible team. The team has changed over the last 20 years, of course, but one thing that has never changed is an indomitable spirit of getting things done in a collaborative fashion. And it's just been a phenomenal project for all of those 20 years, and something that I'm extremely proud of. And Vance has been there with me for the longest, and I thank you very much, Vance, for your stamina and for your cat herding and all of that. And it does take a lot of effort and a lot of commitment to keep going. So thank you very much.
Okay, I don't know what we want to run through here, because Richard is queued up here. Is he the next person on? Maybe I should just pop out of this and let's see. Let me just see where we are. Is Richard the next? Is he the first one on? He's yes. No, he's the second one. So actually, we have Mariana at 1400. That's in 4 minutes. We still have 4 minutes. I'm just checking myself. But continue, or Jane, or
Nellie, would you like to say something? Nellie
sure.
is also our coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Nellie.
Good point.
Sorry about that. Yeah, hi everybody. We're going to start right in a couple of minutes. So I'll be talking later on and summarizing how I feel about EVO. But I think that what Christina said is so true, that, you know, we were lucky that we actually had these professional developments in January and mid-February, because all the participants are thanking us. They're thanking me that they had a chance to learn online and that they're comfortable teaching online. So I think this is something that went on because of the situation. A lot more teachers around the world, out of those 1,300, are actually well prepared to teach online in their schools. So I think that's something that, thank you, Christine, for making this possible with Eva, because you're the one that started the whole thing with Tom and others. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
because of you that we're here.
But you have held it together for many years, Nellie. So don't, don't think of this lightly, and I don't. There have been many lead coordinators over the years. Well, quite a few, not many, but quite a few. And you have been an extraordinary one, if I may say so, in holding the team together and making sure that everything that needs to happen actually does happen. And I hope you keep doing that.
Thank you. But I think it's a team effort, and I think that it takes, it takes a village, and I think we are electronic village
One thing
online.
I should probably mention that maybe you and Vance are aware of, but I'm not sure. We're now approaching, and I'm going to have to go back and actually check the numbers in more detail. We are approaching 40,000 teachers that we have trained in teaching online by having them host and moderate their own sessions online. And, of course, we do some training beforehand to make sure that they're successful, but we're approaching 40,000. So that is an astonishing, mind-boggling number to me. But it's so important now. And back then, of course, I had no idea how important this was going to be. There are still a lot of people that don't know how to do it. And of course, as all of us know, people are saying, or have been saying, oh, we'd rather teach face-to-face. It's not possible to have the same approach or the same interaction or even the same connection with the students as you do in a face-to-face class. The quality is not the same, and as you well know, all of that has been debunked. And we keep showing it year after year, and now this year, unfortunately, given the circumstances, it's now, at least in my institution, it's becoming clear that there is an enormous need for this. And it is, as we know, it is possible to deliver very effective online teaching and learning, but it doesn't come just by switching on a Zoom screen. That in itself is not enough. And so there's a lot more that goes into it, and we've done the training and keep doing it. And thank you to all of you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I think we want to keep a little bit to the times here. We just came to the top of the hour. Mm-hmm. And so our first presentation, which each presentation has 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I would like to actually be able to talk to people. Everyone has the ability to speak here if you want. Oh, by the way, if you're not speaking, could you please mute your mic? And when you want to speak, turn it on, because otherwise we might get some sound interference. And if that happens, you could end up in the waiting room. So in any event, we have Linda Casalini, Ruben Matsai, and Mariana Serra here. And I saw the last two of you. And if you would like to present, we're ready to go. You have 20 minutes. We'd like to talk to you if possible.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Vance, for your introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome to TESOL, the Best of EVO 2020. This is, as Vance said, classroom-based research for professional development session presentation. Also, as Vance said, my partners, also lead moderators, are Lydia Casalini and Ruben Massey from Argentina. My name is Mariana Serra, and I'm from Argentina too. We carried out, or we held this session supported by a group of 7 moderators and a tech mentor too. They are from different countries. We would like to thank Ashley Saglam, Richard Smith, Kenan Dikilitas, and Darío Vanegas for their support during our session. Okay, so this presentation consists of 3 parts. I will be talking about classroom-based research for professional development previous sessions, also about what is meant by classroom-based research, and also about how classroom-based research contributes to teachers' professional development. My partner Ruben will then be talking about the different topics teacher participants chose in order to design their exploratory research projects. And Lydia Casalini at the end will be talking, or will be sharing, our reflections and suggestions for further additions. Okay, so as regards classroom-based research for professional development previous editions, in 2016, under the leadership of Ashley Saglam and Kenan Dikilitas, well, it was all started. Then in the 2nd and 3rd EVO sessions, classroom-based research, I mean, were under the leadership of Richard Smith and Paula Rebolledo. And in 2019, again, Kenan Dikilitas and Ashley Saglam were the lead moderators. During some of the previous EVOs, thank you for showing our PPT.
Yes, just a minute, Mariana.
Thank you.
I will show it in a minute, yes.
Great, thank you. During some of our previous, sessions, Lydia, Ruben, and I took part as moderators. Right. Okay. Then, as regards what is meant by classroom-based research, I would like to say that we focused on classroom research, on teacher research. That is to say, teacher research, research carried out by teachers in their classrooms and related to topics that are important to them, yes, in their teaching contexts. Next slide, please, Ruben. You will see in the next slide, thank you, Ruben.
Okay.
The complete cycle. Here we have the exploration research and action research. As regards, we focused on exploration research, first of all, on the fact that we need to plan what to explore. Yes, we talked about exploration and not to make any changes. Then we collected, as regards exploration, we encouraged teachers to gather data to answer their own questions. And then during the last step, we encouraged them to analyze and to reflect on the data they had collected in order to answer their questions and to be able to understand the situation better. Yes, we also put emphasis on the fact that sometimes this is enough. Those 3 steps are enough, okay? Sometimes exploration brings, or I mean, the new understanding that we gain after carrying out these 3 steps is enough. It may bring change and also different I mean, it may change the situation and may help change our attitude towards the situation. Another alternative is to go ahead and to plan in order to implement action. Yes, and there in this slide you can also see the different steps which have to do with the action stage. Yes, so during our workshop, as I said before, we emphasized the value of exploring, that is to say, of looking at our situation more in detail, yes, from a different perspective. And we also encouraged teachers to integrate that exploration into their everyday teaching, yes, to avoid workload. Yes, great. Well, as regards the last question or the last topic, which has to do with how classroom-based research contributes to teacher development. Okay, this is research by teachers and for teachers for their professional development, their own professional development, and for the benefit of their students. Yes, this has not to do with any academic research. Okay. And so what we did during our session was to help teachers, was to guide teachers, yes, to design and also to implement their exploratory action research projects, to share their findings, and then to share their reflections on their findings and also their goals as regards further classroom research. Yes, so thank you very much for showing the slides, Ruben. Now it's your turn. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here, and thank you for the invitation as well. I would like to, well, now to mention something about our roles as moderators together with Mariana and Lydia, and the issues that we had to go through in relation to the preparation of the workshop and the process of the preparation itself. So what we did as lead moderators, well, during the preparation and planning stage, we focused on first on contacting the previous moderators of previous editions of this EVO, Richard, Ashley, for example, because they had delivered the workshop before, and it was a great help for us because we had some content and some outline of the workshop ready. But anyway, we had to decide on some platforms of sites where the material would be uploaded and where the teachers had to interact. As regards the material, we decided to organize the material in Weebly, but then we thought that that is not friendly platform to interact, so we decided to also to open a model to interact with the teachers. Well, we started interacting, we disseminated the information about the workshop, and as you can see in the slides, 168 teachers enrolled from 59 different countries. So this was a lot, and we were very happy for this number of teachers interested in the workshop. However, 84 teachers accessed the workshop site in Edmodo at the beginning of the workshop, and 25 teachers completed the workshop. So there is a huge difference in numbers, and we are trying to explore that's part of our exploration, why this happened. Okay, I think this is we think that in part is natural in some especially free workshops where teachers are interested and then for some reasons they don't start interacting and they don't complete the workshop. But anyway, we are trying to contact those teachers to explore further the reasons why they show interest, but then they did not start it or completed the workshop. Also, other teachers participated in the workshop. Well, as it was mentioned before, were the mentors that we thank them a lot for their work, and of course, well, the teachers being mentored, the mentees. As Mariana mentioned, the process of exploratory action research, these are some examples for you to have an idea of what the interaction went around in the workshop that has to do with teachers exploring their own practices and their own context. As Mariana mentioned, this is not academic research with a capital A, let's say, but it's starting from the classrooms of each individual teacher. So here just some examples of the topics. For example, one of the teachers, Blanca Lopez, said she was concerned with why the majority of her students were ashamed to produce in English in the context of Argentina, which is English as a foreign language, and what other feelings are at play while speaking in L2. Then Mancusian Sagrolikar was concerned about their students learning Shakespeare drama Midsummer Night in relation to vocabulary, for example. Then Irina Pinuta was interested in how she could engage their students or how the engagement of her students changed when she innovated in her PowerPoint presentations, especially introducing blank slides from time to time for reflection, for their students to reflect. So, well, Laura Torres about particular types of oral activities. So it was interesting to see that, as we always say, that teachers may be from 59 different countries, from different contexts, but in fact we share the same core issues of teaching in general and teaching English as a foreign language. So the topics were familiar for most of them. So it was a contribution also for the others. Then, well, the process continued with how they could explore those issues, then finding the results, and then what they will change in relation to what they found, and then how they could share their research. Yes, this was also of great help for them because it helped them to see that publishing is not only publishing in formal context, but also you can share information with colleagues, etc. At the end, just to conclude my part, we administered a post-questionnaire reflection, but there were more questions, but we would like to share with you some of the questions in relation to the main benefits of the classroom-based research EVO, the main difficulties related to the workshop in relation to the course activities. Also, this was very important teaching in difficult circumstances because this was, I mean, in general, teachers reflected that, and in relation to the last item on the list, that they found themselves in a community of practice among all the participants and the mentors and the moderators, and also the question of teaching in difficult circumstances, that they could see yes, that their problems could be solved, yes, even if they are in difficult circumstances, if they explore and they take action in relation to those issues. So that's why here at the end, this EVO enabled me, this is just, I took this quotation from one of the teachers, this EVO enabled me to consider how to turn successes, problems, and other issues into research questions and act accordingly. So in general, we are happy with the results as moderators because we could see that, well, mostly they show good answers in response to the benefits. Although, of course, there are some issues to consider that Lydia now is going to mention in relation to the final reflections. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, good evening. Thank you. So what I would like to comment on is in the final reflections. And as we mentioned before, we have tried is to see what challenges the teachers found, those who finished, and that was related to technology, because we noticed, as Ruben mentioned before, that in many cases, teachers participated more on Facebook than on Edmodo. Edmodo presented, even though it's very user-friendly, that was somehow a problem. They didn't find their, because it was divided into weeks in small groups, and they found it difficult. So we had to guide them for them to find their each week and to solve the let's say the tasks, or at least to read the materials and to participate. They found it was a challenge. Not everyone, but in many cases. And the feeling is that they feel more comfortable with what is, for example, social networking such as Facebook, or when they can get the notifications in their email box, which is something that we need to explore yet. These final reflections are just reflections for the moment. We have not finished the exploration stage. Something interesting also related to technology is because it was mediated by technology, we usually do in previous EVOs and this year too, and will be forever, okay, because that's the way it works. This year we used Zoom, and Zoom has an active participation of all the attendees. And it was really interesting to see that teachers wanted to talk, wanted to participate. They found it interesting. They wanted to be active participants. But at the same time, there were many problems with the management of their settings. They didn't know, for example, how to mute and unmute their microphones, which really was a kind of problem because we didn't want them to be silent. And so sometimes it was difficult to deal with. And Christopher, that is our really mentor and my friend, we have been working together for many years, and we created video tutorials, step-by-step guiding teachers to see what they needed to do, what it was necessary to do to mute and unmute their microphones. And at the same time, something else that was really noticeable is that the turn taking was really difficult to manage. As we know in some other video conferencing tool, this is not an issue because all people attendees are silent. But our intention was that they could open their microphone, and we wanted to have a more interactive meetings. Another thing related to technology was important and interesting and really fascinating to see that when teachers had the opportunity to meet in breakout rooms that were the small groups in Zoom, they really enjoyed talking to each other. That was really very, very, very productive. They had the opportunity to meet and talk, divided into small groups. This is really very powerful because they have their voices heard, not only by texting or typing on Edmodo or Facebook, but they also need to talk. As we usually do, we teachers talk a lot. So that was really important. And technology and networking. It's very interesting that teachers referred two things. On the one hand, some teachers noticed that other teachers were not working or they didn't find their tasks or their weeks on the platform, and so they offer the volunteer to help other people. So what they did, the others could solve the problem and they could continue participating. And they also have many contacts now. That was interesting. That is the social side of technology for professional development. When we asked them, because Mariana and I sent a questionnaire to those teachers who reached the end of the workshop, and they reported they would have liked to have more guidance on how to use technology for teacher networking and meaningful communication. Actually, we don't know very well what meaningful communication means. Personally, understand we need to explore that because we don't know that yet. But we understand that this can be the exchange from the professional point of view, or at least the possibility of really talking. But I cannot say, I'm not sure at the moment what that meaningful communication means. And then as regard finally managing information and meeting deadlines, they found that the information we provided was good and was enough, and it was okay. Of course, we were using material that had previously proven to be great. That was Richard Smith and Paula Rebolledo as Lee and Kennan materials, which have already proved to be very, very, very useful and successful. And some videos also by the same author, so that was proof that was okay, and teachers reported that was very good. But they found that they couldn't meet the deadlines in many cases, and particularly research questions and analyzing data is the most noticeable, or at least to pay attention for the next time. Probably we need to find a way to provide more guidance there, because that was the area which shows more interest or more need, let's say. So thank you. That was the end on my side. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We do have, this is a very crowded session. We have every 20 minutes a session going up for 2 hours into this. So I want to thank you all very much. I don't know if anybody wants to interject anything else here. We don't want to really cut off interaction. Going once, twice, okay. All right, well, yes, anybody? Okay, I don't think so. Listen, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Most people are taking care of that. I'm also able to see in the chat who has a microphone on, and I can just mute them. Okay, so that seems to be managed quite well. Well, thank you all for coming. There are 54 people here, which is quite nice. There's 100 people allowed in this room. And so what I'd like to do now is to welcome Richard and my iPad just went off, Seydin, I believe, and ask you if you would like to give your presentation now.
Sure, thanks. Seydin, are you there as well? Hi, Seydin.
Yeah, I'm here, Richard. Hi.
Okay. Good. Well, hi, everyone. And just to say at the beginning that I wasn't going to be going to the TESOL conference. I've never been to the TESOL conference at all. But Denver, in my mind, has got an association with Jack Kerouac on the road. I don't know. Can't remember what he did there or why, how that was in the story. But that was a story of great kind of freedom and sense of opportunity. And here we are.
I wish I could be skiing there. This is my.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know Denver, but I can imagine it. And I would never have been there. I probably wouldn't have been doing this online one either, Vance. But it's paradox for me that we are all in lockdown, which we have to recognize the situation as you did in your introduction. But there's a paradox for me here that we are here, and I feel really close to so many of you through this great EVO. that we have, and this is now the bigger EVO community, but because we decided to have the two presentations following on from each other, the first one from Mariana, Ruben, and Lydia, of course, I've been very associated with the classroom-based research, and the one that we started this year with Seden, the mentoring teacher research. This is really one family that has grown up over the last 5 years, and Asla is with us as well, who with Kenan they were the first ones to take on the EVO adventure. And I'm not a techie person at all, but I can really see the benefits of technology, and I wouldn't say I feel really comfortable, but as I think Jane was saying at the beginning, or maybe it was Nelly actually, it was saying that because of EVO we feel more comfortable. Maybe we'll talk about that with Seden a little bit later with technology. Anyway, we can see the opportunities, and don't you think that now more than ever we value this kind of connection and collaboration that we are in isolation and lockdown. So I just wanted to start with that kind of reflection of where we are. Personally, I've been involved with helping my students, especially on MA TESOL at Warwick University in the UK over many years, to do small action research projects. And I've seen the value of action research, of practitioner research, teacher research, whatever you like to see it, as a way that students, teachers, but also teachers, practicing teachers, including myself, can feel a sense of empowerment, develop a sense of being more in control of their development, and I've valued it very highly. I got personally the opportunity to get more involved with teachers in various countries in the global south, engaging in kind of programs to try to engage secondary school teachers who had been very neglected in this area of practitioner research in relatively large numbers. Also, some of the schemes that existed to engage teachers in practitioner research were rather small groups in rather privileged situations. So something that's happened over the last 6-7 years has been a real kind of movement outside the EVO in general, in different programs in Latin America in particular, the Champion Teachers Program, but also what Ruben and Anna and colleagues are doing with teachers in Buenos Aires, province of Buenos Aires, then spreading across from Chile to Peru and Colombia, and growing sort of movement of teachers, often with us, which acknowledge the support of the British Council. Also in India, again, British Council programs, and Nepal, which I've been more recently engaged in. And the ones in India and Nepal have very interestingly involved mentors having groups of teachers, and there being a program of trying to develop those mentors' abilities to mentor, facilitate practitioner research. I've become increasingly involved in that area. So I've been increasingly sort of reflecting on how can we help mentors to mentor, facilitate teachers to do teacher research, because that kind of structure that a mentor can provide, whether it's with student teachers or with in-service teachers, or maybe just a teacher with a colleague, providing a structure for a teacher who hasn't engaged in practitioner research, and with different skills of kind of listening, questioning, is necessary really when teachers take their first steps into doing practitioner research. And it's also, we've just become aware that there are more and more people beginning to or wanting to become engaged as facilitators or mentors, as we call it, of teacher research. I think, if you don't mind me saying so, we have Mariana, who was presenting as a great example, somebody who I first met in Argentina, who was doing her own practitioner research and becoming empowered through that, if you don't mind me saying that, Mariana, and wanting to go further and actually wanting to help other teachers. And this is exactly what she's been doing in the EVO classroom research last year and the previous year, and now she's taking on with Lydia and Ruben an even greater role of coordinating the classroom-based research EVO. Okay, I became conscious that there's very little actually out there about how we can help mentors, how we can develop mentoring. And I wrote a book for the British Council. It's not been published, but it's coming out. And this is partly my stimulus for wanting to get together with SEDEN to see if we could do something for growing numbers of people becoming involved or interested in mentoring teacher research. And SEDEN, maybe introduce your own background, if you, Elizabeth.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Sedan Eraldemir Tuyan, and I have been working in English language teaching field for more than 25 years. And during the time, I have worked as an EFL instructor, as a staff developer, and currently I'm working as a teacher educator at English teaching department at Çay University in Turkey. And as for my mentoring teacher research history, my story began back in time 6 years ago at Çukurova University, where I was working as a staff developer. And when we started our in-service action research program for continuous professional development. And I mentored 3 instructor groups over there, and I believe, and based on the feedback I received from the groups, we, grow together as a professional learning community. And we had the chance to disseminate our work through different ITFL research publications. And since 2017, I started working as a teacher educator. I'm teaching mainly methodology courses, professional development, and action research to undergraduate and graduate students. And in my current teaching context, as part of my course requirements, I engage student teachers and MA students with exploratory action research projects and do my own way of mentoring. I believe conducting action research studies help them to grow a growth mindset, keep learning and keeping self-aware, and take action to improve their students' learning. And back to you, Richard. That's all about me.
Thanks, Ed. So apart from acknowledging, as we did the British Council earlier, and also strongly sort of acknowledging Vance and Christina, Nelly, and all of you who've given us this sort of structure of ability to make these communities with such helpfulness, actually. Thank you so much. But also, I think we should acknowledge actually what Sedan said. The IATEFL research special interest group has over the years has given a lot of support actually to the EVO, and Kenan, of course, is not here, but Asla, within the one thing that we've always used in that classroom-based research EVO that
Wow.
Marianne and the others were talking about has been Adobe Connect Room, which IATEFL Research SIG has generously allowed us to use. That's been very useful. Actually, you didn't use that last year, but we have used that. And we've used that for our mentoring teacher research.
Actually, Richard, I needed to say that the project was initiated by Kenan Dikilittaş, and we just held on to that for 3 years. And during the time, I received huge mentoring and support by some celebrity super mentors like yourself, Richard Smith, Kenan Dikilittaş, let's talk about them, and Burns, Mark Wyatt. Thanks to them all from here.
So there's all these people we want to thank.
We like being
it's not the Oscars. So let's, I guess people want, but this is how we feel.
Yeah, she was part of the team. Thank you, Asla.
So I think some would like to hear about what we did, really, a bit more about the approach that we took. So I'm going to share, I'm not going to share any PowerPoints, but I hope you can see this is the main sort of area that we have been using. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology side of things and the platform side of things, but also the syllabus. You can see that okay, I think, Sedan, can you?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, okay. We have a Facebook group, and that's where we encourage people to come as a sort of waiting room. And that's something we've done over the last years, also in that classroom-based research Evo, to before the whole Evo starts, to have a Facebook group place where people can get ready or sort of start to prepare themselves. And that carries on all through the year, and this is where our community is still going to develop, the community of mentors around the world of teacher research. But when we actually start, we make a link. We decided to use groups.io. Of course, we used to use Google Plus for the classroom-based research one, but that's no longer available. So with the helpful discussions that all moderators have before they start with Vance and with all of the team, we heard about groups.io, and that's what we decided to use. Let me just find it again. So we decided to, I think, I'm not sure, but I may be wrong, but I think other EVOs used it, groups.io this year, as the main place for a forum for exchanging messages, and it certainly worked quite well for that purpose. But we decided to go one step further and actually use it as our main place for content as well, because from experience, we found that, as I think Lydia was saying, that people have to get used to the technology and often get lost in the technology. So we wanted just one place where people could be. So we decided to use the wiki for, and there, I've provided a link to this this whole thing on the main website for today's presentations. Just so people are interested, and you can actually go here and you can look at the. It's not usually open; it's just for members. But for anybody here who would like to go and see what we did each week, you can also see we had a week before everything began, just where we started getting people used to the place, and that's something we found worked with classroom-based research Evo last few years as well. So when we actually started, you can see the syllabus beginning here. The first week was reflections on what is, not so much what is teacher research. We assumed that people coming to us knew what that is. It's quite a specialized Evo. We didn't expect to have many people. In the end, we had about 100 people or a little bit more. But the reflections during that week, so you can see that we had a webinar, and you can have the recording is there in the Adobe Connect. But then, of course, we follow up with different discussion topics, and we make the link to the place in the messages board. So that was the first week. It was basically kind of definitions and getting to know each other. Then we go back to the wiki. Week 2, then we decided to focus on areas which we know from experience are the most difficult for teachers who are engaging in teacher research, and how can mentors help the teachers to develop their topic, to narrow down a topic, to develop research questions. Then how can you help teachers to decide what kind of data is appropriate? How can you help teachers to analyze the data and interpret it? And towards the end, we were thinking also about how can you help teachers share their findings. So we had different tasks from the materials that I've been preparing. Just focus in on this week, which was, it's a really difficult area for teachers to decide on a particular topic to research and decide on their research questions. So we had a webinar, that's me and Seden, and we always had a guest mentor. We called it a surprise guest mentor because we didn't tell people who it was going to be. I think that week it was actually Kenan Dikilitash, or actually Elizabeth from Bekesh maybe, who joined us from Ecuador. Paola also joined us one week. Paola Rebiador from Chile. We'd have some reading. This was from the book that's going to be coming out, made available in the files area. So that's what we have here. We have files. So there's also an activity they could do. And there's also this, we encourage them to actually go and find somebody, and I think some people did manage to do this, find a teacher who might be willing to do teacher research, go and record a conversation with them where you're helping them to decide on a topic and decide on research questions, and listen back to it, to analyze it. Actually, Jane was suggesting that we can do that these days more easily with people teaching online. That's something we would like to reflect on, how this relates to teaching online. We're not going to have time really, but we'd like to do that. So if we just go to the files area, you can see, and you can do this, explore this for yourselves if you'd like to later. Week 1, you see we've put the materials there. We had a list of challenges that there might be in mentoring teacher research, a checklist of skills and abilities. That was week 1. I'm just going to look at week 2. And I suppose we have 5 more minutes roughly, do we, Vance? 5 minutes or so.
Well, you could. Well, we're a bit over time, but then we ran over time, so it should be probably about time you should be ending. But take 5 minutes; it's okay. We're not
all right then.
in a bricks and mortar place.
So we were going to I was going to try and mentor Seden, having a kind of conversation, a little bit like this one, where you can see what kinds of question or what kinds of active listening I might do. So then tell us a little bit about the how the participants responded, or how the participants, who they were and how they found our Evo, and maybe we'll end with that.
Actually, we have had 148 registered participants from various parts of the world, from Greece, Azerbaijan, Argentina, Nepal, Ecuador, UK, Turkey, from various parts of the world. And they have tried mentoring in both in service and pre-service context. One of our participant mentors held a study, actually multi-level collaborative study with the other teachers in her team, which was a success, I believe. And other than that, well, shall I talk about the participants' gains and things like that, Richard?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to end with.
Yeah, because we have time constraints. I think it's good to give some feedback. Our participants enjoy sharing of material, resources, webinars, and they found them really helpful, fruitful, and useful. They enjoy being part of the group. They also felt confident and feel confirmed as being part of the group. Most of the participant mentors just gave it as a feedback, our mentoring sessions as an opportunity to interact with different participants from all around the world, different regions of the world, and talk about exchanging experiences. And well, it was a community for all of us to exchange ideas. Other than that, do you have other things in mind?
How about you? What did you feel was the most benefit for you doing with this experience?
Well, Richard, I gained a lot actually. During the time I co-hosted this EVO research sessions. And first of all, I can say I gained a deeper understanding and a wider perspective in mentoring teachers. I think this was my most important gain. I also think about the collegiality issue here, the culture we try to create through this cohesive, I can say, professional relationships. So we had the chance, all of us had the chance to hear from participant mentors. And I also have the chance to fill in the gaps I have had in my mentoring model and mentoring philosophy. In this way, I confront myself, sometimes I adjusted my way of thinking while hearing from our participants.
Yeah.
I also, finally, I can say, I learned a lot from your expert knowledge, your practical, to the point mindedness, I can say. mentoring during the preparation of the content of our sessions. And our exchange of ideas made me question myself and improve.
Thanks, Sedan. And it's true, isn't
How
it?
about you, Richard?
Well,
Have you had any games?
okay, briefly, because we don't want to, we know others are waiting to present. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you're planning something together, I guess others feel the same way. And I think this is very much in the nature of Evo philosophy generally. It's a collaborative, I think Christine said earlier, very collaborative. You're planning something really genuinely together out of a voluntary spirit, not because you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You gain a lot, and we learn a lot. I learned that actually there are more people out there than I hoped, really, who are interested in becoming mentors of teacher research, which was fantastic. I think it's like a spiral, virtuous circle happening. And secondly, I suppose I did have these materials and I'd written them myself on the basis of my experience. I wanted to validate them, see if they made sense for other people. And there are a lot of things that people was adding and saying that were things that I was learning about the underexplored area that we are working in here. You're one of the few people who've written about the experience of mentoring teacher research. That's why we're working together. But it's a developing area. So I think we have a sense of not just community, which I've been stressing, but of being at a kind of cutting edge of not just working online, but in this area. Thanks. That's all we have time for. I hope you found it.
Unfortunately, we couldn't have the mentoring dialogue. Next time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
In 2008, when George Siemens and Stephen Downs gave their first MOOC, the Connective and Connectivist Knowledge MOOC, someone asked Stephen, because they did this as a course at a university where they had a couple of hundred participants, but they opened up to everybody, and they suddenly got inundated with thousands of people. And someone asked Stephen, "Why are you doing this?" And he said, "Well, because I'll learn from it." There you are. You see, that's really why we're here. I think we're all learning from one another. I really appreciate your presentation, and in the interest of time, I appreciate you looking at that. We're about 10 minutes over time, but that's not critical. We're not a train running or whatever. So anyway, I think we have next Daniela and Letizia talking about TechnoClil. And just let me point out again, if anybody is not using a mic, please mute your mic. And people have been very well behaved so far. It's been a very nice session. And I see that Daniela is there, and Letizia, there you are. How are you?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Here we are.
You're on.
Shall I share my screen, Vance?
Sure,
Yeah?
go ahead.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us and organizing this presentation today, because for us it is very important, especially for me. I'm second vice president of TESOL Italy. My president and second vice president had already planned to be in Denver this time. So everyone all around the world, you can imagine how disappointing it is to cancel programs just due to this pandemic. And we are very sorry for that, but it is a way to stay together and to widespread a little bit of our expertise to help people that are facing such a very difficult moment in the time. Especially my thoughts are for teachers and trainers all over the world that are making a new experience of digital teaching in their classrooms. So together with Letizia Cinganotto, this year we had another session of TechnoClil. TechnoClil is something that refers to the widespreading of the CLIL methodology all around the world. This content and language integrated learning. And as you can see in this screenshot of Eurydice 2015-16 program, we have the widespreading of this methodology all over Europe, both because it is a way of enhancing language skills. But we thought, and we have been teaching this new methodology all over the years in the last 6 editions of EVO, Electronic Village Online, together with technologists, because we are digital experts and we really believe that in the 21st century it is very important to enhance digital skills both for teachers and students. And so we found this mixture of enhancing and developing digital skills with language and content methodological skills. We also published after with the 5 editions of TechnoCLIL a very important edition of our programs. It is the TechnoCLIL doing CLIL in a digital way with the publishing TechnoCLIL. We started in 2014. We had already been experts for EVO with some different programs for promoting personal learning environments editions during 3 different editions, but we had a great success because CLIL became compulsory in Italy. So lots of teachers, especially from Italy, joined the program because they wanted to know and to learn something more on how to develop and enhance this new methodology. And so we had from since then up to this year the 6 different editions. The one we are referring to now is as in the previous editions. Of course, we changed them a lot because at the beginning it was for beginners, and so we had to widespread the ABC steps of this methodology. Then having always the same participants and enlarging our community, we had to differentiate our syllabus, but more or less we have maintained the basic framework, always adding a new hints, new inputs, and new examples of how to implement it. The syllabus is based on, as every massive online course, on 5 weeks that focus on the widespreading of CLIL all around the world, and then on the focus of language, because we don't have only to teach the subject but also the language. And then, as Letizia will explain later on the pluriliteracies and clean planning according to the European Center for Modern Languages design, and how to give examples of debating CLIL as one of the main essential aspects of CLIL is communication. Debate is a very important methodology, and then how to share repositories in the perspective of building together a learning community on CLIL, and how to give examples of video recordings and lessons. As you can see, we have people coming from all over the world, because the CLIL methodology is not only stuck to the Italian situation, but it is an international and European aspect that we have to face in our schools. Of course, we based our course on enhancing and refreshing at different levels how the TechnoCLIL essential can be developed inside the courses. And we also consider the 4 C's aspects proposed by the expert called in Europe, that are cognition, culture, content, and communication. We also tried to enhance a metacognitive process, because we think that it is very important both for students and for teachers to reflect on what we do in our classes. And we did this in a very particular particular way, because we do think that one of the best and main competencies in the 20th century is to promote visual competencies. And so we chose infographics both to learn and to represent the process of learning by our teachers through infographics. Please here are some, have a look at some examples of what we realized. The Learning diary was one of our the tools that we used during our experience. So teachers had to reflect in a metacognitive way on their thoughts, and they had to represent it through a visual. So during all the 5 weeks, teachers had to give some examples of what they had learned through each step. Then another example is the 4 C's, as I mentioned before, by a very engaged participant, Barbara Ansaldi, who just gave the idea of how the 4 skills could be exploited also through a mind map. Not only the 4 skills seen as communication, content, culture, recognition, but also giving examples of what communication meant for us. There was language of learning, language for learning, language of true learning, and metacognitive processes, contents implied in research, and of course the culture of the target language referred to this topic. So this was handmade done, but it was very powerful to express the meaning of all this. And then we also asked teachers to reflect on what they did during their classes, designing and planning lesson, and also representing the situation. So through a digital storytelling way, they could give us the idea of what was going on in their classrooms, always respecting the standard planning of planning the project, presentation, discussion, practice and collaboration, investigation, and of course assessment. And last but not least, authentic tasks, because we also asked our teachers to use visuals and infographics and graphic organizers to give an idea of what was going on in their classrooms. So always using a Web 2.0 tools on the web software, creativity software, just to represent authentic tasks in their classrooms. So this is the first part of my presentation. Now give the floor to Letizia. Letizia, are you here?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
And now you can go on. Okay, tell me please, I have to go on with different slides.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Vance, for this great opportunity. Thank you very much. So I'm going on with the description of the different weeks that we developed in TechnoClear. So this week was devoted to the Plural Literacies project, which is a project promoted by the ECML, the European Centre of Modern Languages in Graz, working on projects on languages and on CLIL and plurilingualism. And this project is Plural Literacies teaching on deeper learning, led by Do Coyle, Oliver Meyer, Kevin Schuck, and I'm part of the consultancy team, which is a sort of new idea of CLIL focusing on plural literacies. So the wide range of literacies that our students in 21st century need to develop. And so we also used the planning tool of this project as a tool for our participants to plan CLIL pathways according to the different. This is one of the this will is one of the tools of the project. So we of course had our participants explore the different aspects of the project, and in particular this tool that has different items and provides guidelines on how to plan a CLIL pathway in a certain way. So we collected all the different plans by our teachers, our participants. Yes, next please, Daniela. Yes, debate in CLIL was the highlight of this week, the fourth week. As Daniela was saying, debate is a very powerful teaching strategy that we are spreading a lot in Italy, for example, but is international. Is very at international level is well known. There are a lot of tournaments in the States and we know in England, and in Italy as well. We have national since 2017, we have national competition on debate, and so we thought that working on debate for CLIL could be a nice opportunity for our teachers to experiment this teaching technique with their students. So in order to develop, of course, not only language competencies, but also their thinking skills and public speaking, or that's behind debate. And in particular, we also focused on writing skills for debate, and we provided suggestions about organized writing debates through specific platforms. There are specific platforms that can help you organize this, different sessions, and so students can write, so not only speaking a debate, but also writing debates. And so we provided our participants with different suggestions on how to organize a debate in their classes for CLIL, of course, as an effective way to implement CLIL in their classes. Yes, the next one, please. Okay, the CLIL repositories was the last week, and this, in particular, this repository, this section has turned out to be very helpful, very useful for our teachers, especially now in this period where they are forced to be, of course, to be home, and their students as well. So in remote teaching, they found this particularly useful. In fact, we first of all, we provided with suggestions and inputs on a lot of repositories for CLIL in different languages that they could, find ready-made, because there are a lot of resources. So what we did was to guide our teachers in finding all these resources and put them together so that it could have somehow a sort of pathways, CLIL pathways for different topics already made. And then we asked them to create their own repository. So just using, of course, their own a web tool or their website or what they preferred, we suggested them to create their own repository for their particular subject, of course, and having in mind, of course, their specific teaching context. And that's what I say they found particularly useful for this period, where they are just suggesting and maybe assigning resources to their students home, and in this way everything is easier for them, especially in this period. The next one, I think, was the last, is the webinars and the social networks and the tools that we, of course, it was this combination between CLIL and digital. So that's why TechnoCLIL, the two aspects together, we try to exploit all the different aspects of technologies, of the net, so the social network and all possible web tools. Of course, we try to give them an idea of the wide range of tools that are available online, because of course we know that they're always increasing, but we try to give some hints on how to look for the best or the proper tools that could fit their particular needs. We had also webinars with CLIL experts. Actually, we had a lot of webinars in the previous editions, there were so many, and we found that the very interesting the contact, the sort of video lectures with experts on CLIL or on digital aspects. And we recorded in the past, we video recorded all these webinars, and so we could make available to the participants in the next editions. We could make these recordings available, and this was another important aspect that we could collect from the past editions. So to have a sort of, in fact, we have our YouTube channel, our TechnoClearly YouTube channel, which is a sort of encyclopedia of all these webinars on TechnoClear, and especially in the first edition, Nelly Deutsch helped us a lot. So, and thank you again, Nelly, for helping us especially at the beginning. And so we could say that this TechnoClearly is for us a sort of a small treasure that, of course, we always suggest our teachers when, especially in Italy or also in other international events, when Daniela and I have presentations on conferences, we have something that we can suggest as a sort of a reference with tools and other materials that could be helpful for teachers. I think yes, the end of our presentation. This is the book that is in Italian that we published with is an Italian publisher that collects, of course, in Italian some of the highlights of the different editions of TechnoClear, and of course it's addressed to Italian teachers who want to start planning and implementing CLIL in their classes. Thank you very much, and thank you once again for this opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope that Maha is okay with a slightly late start. Does anybody have any question they'd like to ask Daniela and Letizia? Maybe we could take one. People do have the possibility of taking a mic and asking a question. You certainly, yes, go ahead.
Letizia, is there any publications in English that we can read about your experience in CLIL in Italy?
Yes, CLIL in Italy in particular, I wrote an article in English on La CLIL, which is the international, I guess you know it, the international from Sabana University. If you look for CLIL in Italy, a general overview, Letizia Cinganotto, you can find this article. But Daniela and I have written many other articles in English as well on CLIL and CLIL and technologies. So I guess that if you Google us, you can find different articles. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you.
Okay, and if anybody wants to, any presenters or anybody wants to put anything in the text chat will be blogged, so you'll be able to read it. So if you have any questions there or any information you want to put in the text chat, it will be preserved. So
okay. And I'm also writing my email address and Daniela's email address. So if you want to contact us, feel free. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We're a little over time, not that bad. We're at 10 minutes or so. So we have two more presenters, Maha and Nelly, and we have actually 3 presentations because Nelly is so prolific. She's got her involved in so many EVO sessions. But right now, Maha Hassan talking about CEFR versus assessment. It used to be called, are you a fair tester? But Maha, are you, yeah, there you are, okay. Oh, yeah. And just let me say, the group is being very nice, very well behaved, and muting when they're not talking. That's very helpful. We certainly appreciate that. Okay, sure. Yeah, okay. Well, Maha, you have the floor. Shall I go ahead? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Maha Hassan. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. I hope you're safe and you're staying home. I hope everything is fine with you. I will try to share my screen now. Can you see this? Can you see? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, once more. How are you? It's a pleasure always to be with EVO, and thank you, Vance, and thank you, Nelly, and thank you all the team of EVO for always inviting us and for all the great efforts that they do in order to keep us online all the time. Today I'm going to speak about SAFER versus assessment. I'm speaking about the different kinds of revisions, the latest revisions that took place by the beginning of 2018. And I have given this session twice, last year and this year again, and I find that lots of people are so much interested in it that because they would like to know about this idea of the assessment and how they would like to discover the new SAFER and how they can use it to help them with the assessment, because sometimes people get so much involved with different systems or methods of assessment and they don't know how to get along with it and apply it in class. So the most interesting thing about the new revisions of SAFER is that they have clarified or drew a kind of mind map for the teachers to help them how to go ahead with applications of the assessments in class. So we have given this session, we have divided them among the 5 weeks of the EVO. We started first with giving lessons to the teachers and asking them to try to reflect on them and try to decide what kind of objectives for these lessons are there. That's what we started with. But before we started with this as well, we started with asking them to reflect on the old SAFER and try to give their own reflections on it, and if they have already applied them in their classes and what are the challenges that have faced them before. And then that was on the first week. And then we moved on to the idea, to the discussion of what is the SAFER. And of course, it's the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. And then we discussed with them the history, the very short history of the SAFER. How did it start? What about the first version of the SAFER, and how was it applied? How did the people took a look to it? And as you can see here in the screen on this slide, that as we already know, that the SAFER is already divided into the 6 sections of beginner, elementary, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced, and expert, with an A, B, and C. And then we gave them this kind of definition as a kind of access for the whole 5 weeks of the session, which is that the SAFER is fundamentally a tool to assist in the planning of curricula, courses, and examinations by working backwards from what the learners or users need to be able to do. And we ask them to focus on this idea of need to be able to do. Why are we using the SAFER? Because we would like to discover more about the levels of our own students and how we can help them to develop using the language through their own needs, through their own levels. What is our objective with any kind of curriculum or course that we are using, and how far do we want them to proceed or to achieve by the end of the course or the lesson or the unit that we are already giving forward. We went on and started giving them the definition for what is the scale and what's a descriptor, and we told them that of applying the SAFER to the 4 skills of the English language, which are the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. They started applying them into 4 macro skills, which are the general competencies, the communicative language competencies, the communicative language activities, and the communicative language strategies. This is how the new SAFER added to the old one. With the new one, they worked on the general competencies. We worked with them on the general competencies, and we explained what was meant by the 4 items included under the general competencies, which is savoir. Savoir means knowledge. Savoir faire means if they get the knowledge, how do we help them practice using this knowledge? And savoir être, how they are going to use it to speak about different topics. And then savoir apprendre, how are they going to apply it to their own personal lives, how they can reflect it personally. So we started with this on the very first week. And we discussed with them how these can be reflected through the communicative language competencies using linguistics, means the different structures of the grammar, sociolinguistic, how to use the grammar in order to speak about different social topics, and then pragmatic, how to reflect it on their personal lives. So we started with this introduction on the very first week. And on the second week, we started discussing the receptive activities. You know that in the past, the Sefer was reflected only through the 4 skills of the language, the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But with the new revisions of the Sefer, they just gathered them into receptive skills, productive skills, and they added 2 to them, which are the interaction and the mediation. And they have set the interaction and the mediation as the common link between the 4 skills of the English language. So with the very first week, second week, sorry, we started discussing the receptive activities and what about the different ideas of the receptive activities which have to do with the listening and the reading, how they can use it in their classes using different activities. We have applied this with them on different ideas from different books, and we discussed with them, and some of the attendees had some kind of experience which they try to discuss through these ideas, and we try to help them to find their way out through the different challenges that they had in their own classes. That was during the second week. During the third week, we discussed the productive activities, again, for speaking and for writing, and we discussed the different, again, activities that could be used in class and how we can relate the productive the receptive and the productive activities to interaction. Interaction, again, was very highly stressed with the new revisions of the Sefer because they've been encouraging teachers to use different activities and different kinds of interaction and group work and pair work inside the class in order to help the students to use the language to express different ideas and to personalize their own experiences in order to develop the usage of the language. On the third week, we started working, as I said, on the productive activities, and we related them to the interactive interaction and the very important point, which is mediation. Mediation was found before in the old CLIL, but it and by this idea of the mediation concerning the new Sefer, they wanted the teachers to stress highly on the idea of mediation, which is the text. What kind of text, what kind of medium are you helping your students with the language, to use the language and to personalize it, to speak about it and develop their 4 skills. So they stress the idea of mediation. We have to be very careful what kind of texts are we going to use. Are we going to use texts from a book, a poem? Are we going to use some kind of listening? Are we going to use a video? Whatever we are going to use, this is called a medium. And through this medium, we are going to discuss different concepts. And how are these concepts going to be done? Through collaborating in a group and leading group work. They have stressed this very much. And if you do remember that these reflect part of the HOTS, which are the high order thinking skills of Bloom's taxonomy. And so they have highlighted this very much during the new revisions of the Sefer, and they have stressed also on the idea of communication and interaction. In addition, of course, to the usual strategies means the different methodologies that can be used. So through the first 3 weeks, we have discussed the new changes of the receptive and the productive activities together with in relation to the interaction and the mediation, which have been highly stressed by the new revisions or the new companion revisions of CLIL. A very important point was also added, and this is how the new revisions have been said, the descriptors. This is a very interesting example. Here we have the different levels of the language, and concerning mediation, they have as I said, mediating the text, mediating concepts, mediating communication, and they have set different kinds of levels over here, giving the students the chance to say, I can convey simple predictive information, I can convey main points, I can convey information. So as you can see, the way these kind of descriptors were written can be used by teachers to help the students to make self-reflection, self-assessment after giving different lessons. So the teacher can change this into a kind of questionnaire to help her or help him in order to reflect on the work done inside the class and try to assess what the students have already done. And by the end of the class or the end of the week or whatever, the teacher can use this as a kind of self-assessment to help the students to reflect on their own work, how far have they benefited, in order to realize where are they and where they are supposed to go. Another example over here also, which is very nice, which has been added again to the new SAFER changes of the SAFER, is the online interaction. And as we have, Richard has been discussing at the beginning of the sessions over here, that we are now in the time of online interaction. So again, the very nice thing about the new revisions of the SAFER is that they have added these kinds of explanation or clarification for the teachers when they are going to go online with students. So they have set it according to the different levels, A1, B1, C1, C2, and together B1 plus. They have set here, as you can see on this slide, online interaction, online conversation and discussion, descriptors. For C2, what can the student do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you are going to work with them online, are you going to discuss personal things, or is it going to be a public one, or an occupational or an educational one? So this is very interesting because it helps us as teachers and educators to see the bigger picture of when we work online. What are we supposed to pay attention to, and how can we use these to assess at the same time? If you'd like to go through it, I have set the links by the end of the session over here. It's all for free online, and there are lots of reflections, descriptors that you can find concerning the different levels, and it's highly helpful, especially if you are working online. The most interesting thing about the new revisions of the SAFER is that it can, or it had already addressed lots of ideas, concerning the different language. So I even consider if a teacher with little experience has just got in, this can be highly helpful for her or for him. And I believe also that even experienced teachers can find a lot of resources or a lot of gain a lot of experience through the SAFER, because it gives us a look at the bigger picture and how we can even use these ideas in order to form or design different kinds of courses that we give to our own trainee teachers. Also the SAFER, which is something which is very interesting about it also, and this what was discussed during the 4th week, the plurilingualism and pluriculturalism. And they stressed highly their importance. In the past, in the very first edition of the SAFER, it was not stressed, they were not discussed, but with this new one, they have already stressed this, and they have added a lot to the definition of both of them and how we can apply them again according to the different descriptors of the language. So here is just a little definition, short definition of both of them. Plurilingualism is the dynamic and developing linguistic repertoire of an individual user or listener, and the pluriculturalism is an approach to the self and others as complex, rich beings which act and react from the perspective of multiple identifications. And this is very important because they have stressed a lot that we, during our modern times, we have lots of people traveling here and there. We have lots of immigrants here and there. We have to respect the different kinds of cultures and how we can use this in order to help the students to develop their own learning of the language. And again, add to their own general knowledge as well. What is interesting about the new revisions of the SAFER again, and this was discussed again during the 4th week, is the parallel project, which was made especially for teachers who teach young learners. And they divided them into 2 different volumes, one from 7 to 10, and the other one is from 11 to 15. During these, they have set descriptors like this. As you can see, they have divided them according to levels. They have divided them according to the strategies or the competence or whatever they are going to discuss. For example, here we have receptive activities, spoken reception. For the A1, what can the student do? So they have said can follow speech that is very slow, carefully articulated with long pauses for him or her to assimilate meaning, and so on. So they have set out for us as teachers the skills that the things that can be done by the students, and they have set it here as a column here for relevant or irrelevant. Yes, this is relevant for that age, as you can see here, 7 to 10. And if the students are going to assess themselves, how are they going to present this? They can say, I can understand simple description. I can understand simple description of an object, of a room. I can follow a short story, and if I listen to, I can understand. So we as teachers, we have a very big picture. Yes, we have a very big picture of how we can assess our own students according to the different activities that we provide in our classes and our lessons. So again, here we can use these items here to help the students to review their work by the end of the lesson or the course. And at the same time, we can use them as indicators for ourselves as teachers to make different kinds of questionnaires to test the development of the students according to the different kinds of activities that we do inside the class. Again, here is another example that is from 11 to 15, as you can see over here. Again, they set for you the skills, the abilities of the students, and on the other side, they give you how far they can do this. By the way, the Sefer is already presented in more than one language. One of them is French. And you can find, again, the different kinds of links, again, on the website of the European Council. This was done during the last week that we discussed the pluriculturalism, the pilot project, the online interaction, the parallel project of the young learners. That's what we discussed during the 4th week. And on the 4th week, we gave a sum up of all that we have done. And all during the 4 weeks, we asked the teachers to make reflections on the lessons that they have already done, or they think of lessons that they are preparing or would like to do for the next year or next course or whatever, and apply every part of the Sefer that we have discussed with them on these lessons and send that us to them. We had very good and very interactive reflections on the different lessons, and even some people have already replanned their lessons, and they said if we give these lessons again, they are going to do it in that way, and they started using the Sefer, the different kinds of the Sefers. The most interesting thing about the Sefer is that it is a wide scope project. So we always advise the teachers when they start applying these to their own work to try to slow down and just to take part by part. For example, if they are working on, they want to develop their listening skills, we ask them to read the listening part quite well and try to reflect it step by step in their own classes, and then move to another skill and another skill, because it's a very wide one. And last year when we were at TESOL, and I was presenting this with a number of colleagues over there, the people told us or highlighted this point that this is a lot. The Sefer is a lot for people to grasp at once. So this is what we did. We advise them to do is that if you would like to apply the Sefer or take a look at it or try to reflect on it, please take it step by step, because it makes a difference when you do it bit by bit instead of just taking it as a whole. Of course, for trainers, it's different because we are always looking at the bigger picture. So this is a good idea for us. It helps us to systemize our work and to reflect on it every now and then. I'm almost finished. By the end of, for this course of the EVO, which is always a pleasure to present it over there, we had about 59 participants, and we had the teachers from almost 19 to 20 countries, and it was a pleasure interacting with them because people are really looking for understanding this idea of the assessment and how to apply it in class. Yes, Nadim, I can share the presentation, no problem. You can send me an email if you'd like to, or if you go to the EVO, the link is already over here. You can find all the sessions and all the slides over there. They are still over there. Thank you, Mariana. And here are the references of all the Sefer, different kinds of Sefer. links that I have used. And if you take a look here at the very last 3 ones, these are very, very interesting because they are suitable for different ages. There are lots of self-assessment grades for young ages and for older ones. And even if they are for younger ones, we can adjust them or adapt them to the older students, whether we are teaching adults or students from high school or so on. So you can find different kinds of assessment forms, and even there is a kind of training done over there on the website. You can benefit a lot from it. I hope this was quite clear and helpful. And thank you very much, Vance and Nelly, and thank you all the team of EVO. Thank you all for having me with you. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive and informative work that you're doing. Does anybody have any question? We're going to turn the floor over to Nelly in a moment. Anybody want to open a mic and ask a question? You're quite welcome to. And of course, if you go to the tinyurl.com/best2020 EVO, you can find all the resources that the presenters have put into that document. Okay, well, thank you, Maha.
Thank you.
Okay, and so Nelly is going to talk to us about 2 of her sessions. She's an EVO coordinator. She was the EVO chief coordinator for a couple of years, I think, 2 or 3 years probably, maybe, I'm not sure. She keeps coordinating. And the sessions she's going to talk about today are Moodle for Teachers EVO 2020, and this is something that she does as an EVO session, and she also has a recurring course on it. So she's I took one of her courses in Moodle, very informative and very hands-on and free, and I certainly welcome that. And the other one is Tools for Student Collaboration, which she's also, I'm sure she'll tell you about this. She's doing it this month, I think, until the end of April. So she'll tell you more about that. Right, Nelly?
Yes. Thank you, Vance.
Okay.
And thank you, everyone, for coming. I know that many of you don't.
Oh.
Why not?
Sorry, I meant to mute myself and I muted you.
That's
I'm sorry.
okay, Vance. Okay, so thank you for sticking to this time. Okay, it's the end of today's event. There's another one tomorrow. A little bit about me before I share anything, and that is that I'm a kind of unconventional teacher, and the way I do things on EVO is one of the reasons why I have been with EVO, and I'll get to that. I do things differently, very differently. And those of you who've taken my sessions, and Vance is right, they're very hands-on. So if you're not ready to get your hands dirty and work, then they're not going to be much use to you, and you're probably going to give up. So I've developed certain ways. Can you see that, Vance and everybody? Let me go to the beginning.
I see the slides.
Are you able to see that?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. So I am a very proud member of EVO, and EVO 2020 was no different. I always say this because it's the truth. EVO is the highlight of my year. And this year, it was also the highlight, even though I was really, really busy. I started with Moodle for Teachers after having a wonderful experience moderating what was called, co-moderating, what was called a session called Digifolios. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was asked to be one of the co-moderators, so I had to find out what it was, which I did. We did this on Ning, which is no longer available, and we did present it at TESOL that year in 2009, I believe. So that was my first dip. What I did in that session was unbelievable. As far as I was concerned, my idea was to get everybody working together. Now, it may sound easy today, but in 2009, working together was not very easy, because you had to really think, how do you get people working together online when you don't have that many tools? So what I do on Evo is I experiment and I explore, and that's how I learn. I love the energy that the teachers come with. I don't get this energy from my students. I mean, I try, I really do, but they don't really allow me to experiment. It's mostly about grades and taking care of paperwork and lots of boring things as far as I'm concerned. I like to take chances in the way I learn and in the way I teach. So the energy that the participants, the teachers who come to Evo is amazing, and the love they bring with them and the gratitude and the passion for learning just makes Evo the perfect place for me to try things out. So since I've been working with Moodle since 2003, and I started teaching teachers for free, of course, as Van said, since 2006, I thought it would be only the right thing to try things out in Evo, because what happens on Evo is that we get a lot of teachers, and that's what I needed, a lot of teachers who were passionate about learning. So Moodle for Teachers started in 2012, so you can count, we've been going strong. There are a lot of, if you're interested in Moodle for Teachers Evo, you can take a look at Evo 12, Evo 13, 14, 15, it's all out there, because teachers have been reflecting in their blogs, and there's lots of information, which is nice. It's nice to know. The way I used it this year was through Moodle and Zoom. Now, what's exciting about Moodle is that it really allows us to connect and build relationships. It's a platform that was built for that. Okay, Martin Dogiamas, who is the founder of Moodle, did it he came up with the idea during his doctoral studies, because he was living far away and he needed something, he needed online learning, so he came up with Moodle. And it's built for collaboration. Teachers don't get it, and they use it as a repository. They just add content. It's like a storeroom, you know, instead of turning it into something beautiful, they turn it into a storeroom. So my goal is to help teachers understand that Moodle is all about connections. So from Moodle Evo, Moodle for Teachers Evo 2016 to 20, this was the logo. And before that, you can see the logos were made by Ludmila Smirnova. She started it in 2012. She stopped moderating with us. She was really busy in 2016, so I came up with my own logo. The thing about Evo is that we also meet and we become friends. So it's not only our connections online, everybody connects with everybody, not just the moderators, but the participants too, but we meet. And when we meet, it's like we've been a family forever. So building communities is my goal, both face-to-face with my students, and I teach K-12 up to adult university students, to get everybody working together. And I do use Moodle in a blended learning format with my students from the age of 12 to the age of, I don't know, 80, I guess. So Moodle for Teachers is actually not just Moodle for Teachers, it's on the Moodle for Teachers platform. And on that platform, there are other free professional development courses, not sessions, because Evo is a session, it's not a course. So Moodle for Teachers Evo is a session. Under the category Electronic Village Online, there are lots. I think this year there were 5, last year maybe even more. As Danielle and Letizia mentioned, their session was also here, but not in Evo 20, I believe in Evo 17 or 18. So Moodle for Teachers is a place for anyone who wants to give their Evo sessions. For those of you that are considering, try it out, okay? Moodle is really, as I said, it's an amazing house where you can roam around, have fun, and connect with people. The way I work on Moodle for Teachers, it's not really about Moodle. It's about learning to teach online, but it's mostly about connecting with people and learning how to connect, how to work together. And then you also learn Moodle. So learning about Moodle is just like, you know, as Vance mentioned, we're learning together. It's just a topic that we use, okay? But the idea, of course, is for everyone to connect so that we can be working together. There's a process of teaming up in both Moodle for Teachers Evo 20 and in collaborating, tools for student collaboration, and the teaming up is the same. Moodle has a feature called teaming up, and participants go in, they can start a team, a group, it's called a group. They can start a team and other people join them, or they can join other teams that are already there. And the process of teaming up is done in different ways, and it's up to you as a teacher how you do it. What I usually do is I get them to think of topics, they communicate with one another, and they try to figure out the best people or people that have common interest to work with in these groups. It's not complicated, it's quite easy on the Moodle, and it's a lot of fun. So as I said, it's not just Moodle, it's also other tools that are external to Moodle. But if you know Moodle, and I'm not sure that any of you know Moodle, there are a lot of things. Moodle is full, maybe too full. And maybe that's why a lot of teachers just use it for content because it seems really complicated. So to make it easy, I'll explain what I do so that everybody is able to sustain their learning and it's not a big learning curve. There are preferences, and take a look at all the preferences. You're able to do a lot of things here, get badges, connect with Backpack, which doesn't exist anymore. It's now Badger. So you connect with Badger for your badges. Just the preferences for the user is complicated on its own. So how do I get teachers to actually learn these things? Look at all the resources, annotable file, book. You can create all of these. It's a lot. And look at this. These are activities that you can have on the Moodle. So there's so much to choose from. You know, it's like going to a restaurant and the menu is just so full, you don't know. So you ask the waiter, I mean, what do I eat? There's just so much out there. And notice Big Blue Button and Zoom are also activities on Moodle. Look at what here, okay? The slides are available, so you can take a look and see what's there. WizIQ is also considered an activity. So there is so much out there, but you don't have to use it all, and that's the whole point. So what the participants do is they practice. There are practice courses. These are not Evo sessions, they're courses, practice courses on Moodle for Teachers Evo session. There's a practice area, so you can practice as a teacher, so you can use whatever activities you want or resources. And then there's a practice area for teachers as managers. And as a manager, you have other rights, like you can enroll students, you can edit your, trying to get rid of these images here that are driving me crazy. There, okay, I got rid of it. No, I have to. Okay, so that's that. And these are the collaborative courses. So at the end of, well, actually not the end, they team up, the participants team up so they can, wait a minute, I think I lost it here. So they can work together on team collaborative courses. And these are some of the courses. There were 5 teams. Each team had, I don't know, about 10 or more. It depends on the team. And they work together. Each participant had a section, and they would work on the section, add their activities, but they had an umbrella topic that they decided on beforehand when they were teaming up. If it doesn't make sense, just grab the mic and ask, and I'll stop and explain. Okay, if you have any comments or questions. So the external tools that we used were Screencast-O-Matic, because the participants had to use it to explain as they learned about each of the activities that they used. Whatever they did, whatever they learned, they had to teach it. And that's what I've been doing for years, getting teachers to learn things, or getting students, it doesn't matter, learners to learn things by demonstrating the process. So if you learned a tool, what did you do? Show me, show us. So that's what they do through Screencast-O-Matic, and then they share this and the reflections on a remake. They don't create their own Padlet, because that would be too easy. And Nelly does not make life easy for anybody. So you really have to work, okay? You have to work, so they have to remake, so they can learn how to remake. So for example, if they want to learn how to use Padlet, they have to create a video tutorial demonstrating how they remade the Padlet wall. So actually it's a lot of fun. They enjoy it, and you'll know why in a minute. So there's a lot of peer learning. So it's repeated. People don't say the same things. They say different things, but they're actually showing the same tool in their way. So there's a lot of peer learning going on. They have to respond to one another to get a badge. So that's the process. Excuse me. Video tutorials. That's how they learn. And the idea, of course, is to show what you've learned through video tutorials and reflect on the process. And as someone mentioned, teachers and learners in general want to be active. They don't want the teacher to do it all for them. I mean, right now I'm doing it all for you. I'm explaining. But in my courses and my Evo sessions, I don't do anything, really. They respond to each other. I do give grades. They get grades for their video tutorials so that everybody does it seriously. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. They would just respond, and I wouldn't be able to know who did what. So I do go over their video tutorials, but they respond to each other a lot, and they enjoy that. Sometimes I think that they prefer to learn from one another than to learn from someone else. So it's really, really owning your own learning and learning from each other. These are the badges, and that's one of the reasons why they work so hard. Believe it or not, even adults like badges. So if they know that they do certain tasks and they get a badge, they're going to do it. They're going to finish it. And if they're on a team, they're not going to disappoint their teammates. They're going to do it. So there are two things here. Make sure that they're working together, give them all the tools, whatever they need, help them facilitate teaming up and learning together, and then award them. And they love that. They really do. And then, of course, at the end, we give them a certificate. So that's Moodle for Teachers. Are there any questions about it? I think I've gone through everything.
Nelly, there's a question
Yes.
from
Yeah, I can't see it.
Martine.
So.
Or Martine, would you like to?
Yeah, could you voice your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Martine? Oh, she has it in the chat. She says that the problem is that Moodle is usually embedded in a university platform, and you cannot invite teachers or lecturers from other universities. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot. Yes, it's not like Blackboard. It's a little more flexible, but you can have your own Moodle sites. You don't have to depend on university if you like. And I like the freedom of being able to teach my way and to experiment. So I got my own Moodle, and anyone can do it. In fact, you can even teach on Moodle for Teachers as long as it's free. In other words, you can't make money on Moodle for Teachers, and everything that you do is Creative Commons, so it can be shared. You can back it up, but you have to be aware of the fact that people might take your work. So that's the only thing. But Moodle for Teachers platform, the Moodle is available for anyone who wants to use it to teach for free. I don't know if that answers a question, if you want to experiment with Moodle.
Thank you, Nellie.
So, just contact me if that interests you. Let me stop screen sharing here. I thought there was more, but I guess not. Any other questions? Okay,
Yeah,
so
no,
just to give you, yeah,
sorry.
go
This is
ahead.
Richard. Hi.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Yeah, Moodle, as Martine said, it's something, well, we at my university we're told we have to use, and so I've never explored it. And I guess many of us feel now we've actually got to go and explore these things in a way that we never realized
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so your Evo is just a bit too early for quite a lot of people. Is there some other way that somewhere else we can
Of
go
course,
to?
every year in May, which is next month, you can join it already. There's something called Moodle MOOC, and this is Moodle MOOC 15. You can join that if you like. The site, it's actually, there's Electronic Village Online, and there's a course right now, remote, there's live online virtual engagement, which Vance mentioned that I'm giving courses now for free also on Moodle for Teachers on how to use live online virtual engagement. And again, it's in Teams, so if you're ready to work in Teams, that's great. If you go into Moodle for Teachers and to the list of courses, you'll see that there's a MOOC, Moodle MOOC, okay, starting May 1st. So you can join it right now if you like, and then you'll have the experience of Moodling, as we say, and you can become a Moodler and learn other ways of using Moodle.
I never thought I'd like Moodle, sorry.
I love Moodle, I'm telling you. Anybody who knows me knows that, and I use different platforms. I also use university platforms and other platforms, not just the ones that I built, but I have a few Moodle sites, and I also support Moodle. If you're interested, I'm also the admin of a few Moodle, school Moodles. Okay, so Moodle is really my thing, and I experiment on it. I do a lot of different things just to see how it can be improved for student collaboration. So I think I'm in the wrong place. Yeah. Okay, so Moodle for Teachers looks like this from the student's perspective. There's a lot of stuff here, and you get used to it. Okay, you get used to all these things. You can go in right now if you'd like to explore it as a guest. There are no more enrollments.
Are you
since we
sharing your
passed the
screen?
time.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sharing the screen. Oh, I stopped sharing the
Yep.
screen.
Yeah, you stopped
Sorry.
sharing the screen.
Oh my gosh, that is terrible of me.
Amazing.
Sorry
It
about
looks
that.
just like Zoom.
Yeah, no, I'm supposed to be the expert here. Yeah, right. There we go. Okay, so now you can see it. So I'm going to add it to the chat box so you can join and take a look. It's going to be open until the end of the summer when we go to the next one, if we get accepted, of course. I say we, but it's only me, actually. But I think of it as we. Hopefully, others will join as moderators, maybe. So that's what it looks like. The teaming up, I wanted to show you. I don't want to take too much time here because the teaming up is in week 2. Let's see. I want to show you what the system looks like. There it is, forming groups. So that's the icon there. And the way they do it, okay, is this. You can create your own group and then encourage people to join you in their discussion forums where people discuss what they're planning to do and so on. They start this from week 1. Week 2, they start joining. Or you can become a member of this group. This group is called Ecology. You can become a member. Right now, there are 5 out of 6. So that's how the grouping works, which is an amazing system. And Moodle has a few different ways of grouping. Okay, so are there any other questions about Moodle for Teachers? Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So the next session that I chose, because I moderated more than 2 sessions, guilty, you're not supposed to do that. One is enough. And if you're interested in moderating, you might want to consider it for EVO 21. Again, it's from the same category. I use Zoom and Moodle for tools for student collaboration. This was the first year. And it was kind of an experiment to see how it would work. The tools that I used was VoiceThread for the introductions, Google Drive, Docs, and not just the docs, actually, it's everything. It's all the files, Google Doc, Google Slides, Google Forms, Google Sheets. And I think that's it, right? That's all there is. And Padlet, of course, they had to add all their work on the Padlet. They teamed up in week 2 when they started working on the presentations. So again, they worked in teams because I don't know how to work in any other way. I don't know if I can work without teams. And the way they teamed up, you're familiar with the logo already, teaming up based on 50 debate topics that I use in my classes. My students also team up for debates. That's one way that they team up. They choose a topic and they work on that topic and then they come up with a debate. So they also choose topics. So there are 50 topics. They can decide whatever topic they're going to choose, and that's how they created presentations based on the topics. And the presentations have no words. It's only images on the slides, and then they talk about them. That's how I do it with my young learners and adult. So teaming up. What's great about working in teams that I found, especially with EVO, when a lot of people drop off and they disappear, and my goal was to keep them engaged and interested. And I figured, well, if I do the work, they're not going to stay. But if they do the work, it might be too much. So what is too much for them to keep them? What I found was teaming up kept them online because they felt responsible. When you're on a team, it's not only you. You have to take other people into account. So people learn to care about each other, and they develop trust, and they're all there for each other. Nobody dropped off, even though it's online and nobody sees you and nobody can call you or anything. People took responsibility and they did the work as a team. So team task trust is what I call it. The teams work as one and they develop a trust. I wanted to mention that I also worked with Kazan. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a feedback form where you can add audio to as comments, as feedback to the docs. Again, it was based on peer learning because that's what I do. I believe in the learner doing the work, and that it's learning by teaching, and I'm not the learner, I'm the teacher. So I'm gonna make sure that they have what they're supposed to have, which is the learning. So it's not about me, it's not about what I do or don't do, it's about them. And I'm very happy when I'm left out and they're working together and developing communities. That's my goal. And when that happens, when they don't depend on me, but they're depending on each other and they're gaining information from each other and they're asking each other instead of asking me, I don't feel left out. I feel blessed that I developed, that I helped develop. It's not me, they did the work, but I was there to facilitate these communities. Again, they do all the work through video tutorials. They have to do it, and they do it using Screencast-O-Matic, and nobody has ever complained, which is a good thing. And I'm happy about that. They're happy to speak and present because they want to be heard and they want to talk. They don't want to just listen and, be passive. So it's all about show and reflect. And I think you mentioned reflection too, Richard, and some of the others mentioned reflect. They love it. They love the chance to be able to express what it felt like. How did it feel to create that video tutorial? Were you frustrated? And what's amazing is that they do express their frustrations, but they thank me because I put them in a position that they can reflect on not just the good things, but some of the difficult things and the hardships that they had. And everybody shares their hardships. And it's a very, very engaging class. And that's where I get my aha moments, because it's online, it's not face-to-face, and it's working. So how does it work? Well, as I said, teamwork and rewards, being rewarded for your hard work. Okay, and it's a give and take. They learn from each other. I learn from them. And I think I learn more from them than they learn from me, because they're doing it. And I'm not really there to provide them with information. And what do I like about Evo? You know, you may ask me, Nellie, why do you keep coming back? And Christine will say, why do you do it? And don't leave us, but why do you do it? And Vance also asked, why do you do it? Well, it's because, first of all, I get a chance to explore and experiment. And I love it when people show appreciation. And when they show appreciation, which is what they do in Evo, that makes me feel good, because we all want to be appreciated. I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't want to be told that they did something good, or that, you know, they're heard, they're seen. We appreciate what you do, Vance. And that makes you feel good. Jane, this is wonderful. Christine, I'm so happy you did what you did, because if you hadn't done it, we wouldn't be here. So being appreciated is very important to the teachers and to the students. It's a two-way process, and we thrive on this. And that's why I'm in Evo, and I will stay in Evo. So for as long as I can, I'm not leaving. Okay, so I'm here to stay, and I hope that you will stay too. And if you do, this is what you'll get. Badges, lots of badges. And there's so much fun to create too. That's the fun that I get, creating the sessions and awarding the badges. That's my fun. But once I create everything, I stay back and the participants do the work. So I use, if you're interested, I use Canva for the badges. And I also use another system that they're charging money for now. I think that's what I use this for. Vance, you use it as well, right? Are you familiar with this? Does this look familiar?
I've seen, you mean Credly for badges?
Credly, that's it.
Credly, but Credly has gone from freemium to paymium.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the final certificate. But you know what? Participants, Evo participants prefer the badges, because they get it directly after they do certain tasks. So you get rewarded for doing the task. You know you finish the task when you get that badge, and that makes them feel good. I think I'm almost finished. And that's it. Evo 2020. I'm looking forward to Evo 2021 next year. And I hope you'll be there too.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Actually, we've done very well. We're 5 minutes over.
Did we do? Yeah, that I was hoping.
Topic.
I was trying to time that. Okay, great.
You did very well. Yeah. But you know, we don't really have to stop. I mean, you know, people can leave if they want. We've got 41 participants here right now.
Okay.
Down from 57, something like that. But if anybody has any comments or questions they'd like to ask anybody, you can grab a mic if you want. And I guess I might also say we're coming back here tomorrow for 2 sessions. This one started at 1400 1400 UTC. That's, did I get that right? Yeah, it's 2 o'clock after 2 p.m. The one in the morning starts at 2 a.m. UTC, which is 2 to 4. That's pretty easy. That's 1 in the morning. Then also another one at the same time tomorrow. So we have 2 more sessions tomorrow. And
Vance,
Yes.
Yeah, this is Syed Irshad Ali from India.
Hi, Syed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for making me the part of this privileged group.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely awesome presentation and also the session. Especially Dr. Aneli has made my day. To be frank, I'm a little lazy, and because of unavoidable circumstances, I could not able to participate and put in my efforts. But she really made me that we have to work on it, and that was quite clear that unless you work, you cannot get it. Surely, I'm looking forward to work and also learn a lot at the same time. Not only learn, share my feedback and also inputs what I teach in my classroom here in India, which is a large group of students. So looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Jason sir, Sir Steven sir, and Nelly and everyone over there. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Well, thank you. We're glad to have you with us. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything about the courses? Were you participating in courses? Is that why you're here? Or you want to tell us anything about your experience like Syed did just now?
I see Christine is there. Hi, Christine. I just noticed that you're with us.
Hi, Christine. You want to say a few words?
Christine from Lebanon. I think Christine is the coordinator, isn't she, of Call IS? Hi there.
I've been here all along. I've been here for all the hours. I've been here all along.
Well, I didn't see your face. Now that I see your face, I know it's you.
I lost connection one time when I lost electricity, but I was fine.
Wow,
Very interesting. I thank everyone for organizing this. Vance, Christine, Nellie, and I have enjoyed being part of the audience, listening in, and I thank everyone for being online during lockdown.
Yeah.
And I hope to be here tomorrow as well.
Good. Okay.
And it's been very enlightening, and it's too bad we're not in Denver, but that's okay. That's okay. We're online globally, and that's what's great about it.
Yeah, we're modeling what people are doing and how one way to do it. So
exactly.
That's what we do.
Only we're not new to it.
Yeah.
This is like old stuff for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, but people have to go online, and they're having trouble going online if they're not blended. And so what we've been doing, yes.
Share a lot of this information with my graduate students, and I'm going to share the links. You know, I mentioned it to them, but I guess, you know, none of them chose to attend, but I'm going to be sharing the links. So I'm sure many of them are doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're recording everything. And so we'll capture as much screenshots, whatever people share on Facebook or wherever. We'll put them in the, I keep a blog at learningtogether.net, and I put all the sessions will be there online. So learningtogether.net, I'll put that in the chat. But
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything? I'm typing in the chat.
What was that C?
Hmm?
I saw a C.
The
letter C?
The letter C.
Before.
Where?
On the screen.
Oh.
That's
Christine. I see. Okay.
It's someone without a camera. It's just someone without a camera.
Oh, I don't believe that. Who else is here? My goodness. Did I just see?
I closed my video because I don't want to take too much from the connection.
I can't see everybody.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Do we have, who else is here? Did I just see?
I'm here, but I've been lurking because I'm so busy.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. Wow.
I'm multitasking.
I'm oddly unable to admit participants. We got 2 people in the waiting room. I don't know why I can't let them in. I don't think the meeting had a time to it, unless somebody's frozen. Uh-oh. Something's weird.
Oh, it's been so long. Wow.
Yeah. But It's great to see you. I'm glad I
Yeah,
stuck around to hear you. It was wonderful. I'm just saying
I'm
hello
glad.
to
I'm glad.
everyone. That's all. I gotta run too.
Yeah. You know, somebody was saying that, you know, the kids aren't busy and they're bored, but adults are so busy. We don't have time for anything, even though there's lockdown. I am so busy. So is my husband. Like, we're doing stuff that we hadn't
Well,
done in years.
what I'm doing is mentoring people who have no idea how to teach online. I've got chock-a-block appointments. That's what I'm doing right now. I've got someone teaching this summer who has to prepare her course online for the first time ever. So
That's great.
we're popular now.
Yeah, they were against us until now, eh? Hate it. As Christine said, yeah, they used to complain about who needs to go online.
Right.
Why?
I had the same thing.
But they're calling it, there's a new name, you know, it's not going online anymore. It's called remote learning.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, that's the new word, remote learning, like remote control.
Okay. Well, touching base with you. I gotta run. Bye.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi there. Hi.
Hello. Hi. This is Venkateshwar Rao from Telangana. Yes, I am interested to join the meeting. I would like to know something about it. Hello.
Yeah, what's your question? I'm sorry. You want to know what this is? This Evo session?
Yes, I have joined. First, I have joined just now. I don't know anything about it. Just I will be listening to you first.
This is the best of Evo. Vance, maybe you can explain what we're doing here, because it's true, not everybody knows. They just joined, but they don't really know.
Can I continue?
Vance,
Will it be
you
okay
need to
if I continue?
unmute.
Yeah, Vance, you're using
Sorry to interrupt.
sign language.
Venkateshwar sir is from.
Sorry. Yeah, I just put a link
Yeah, he's
to
from India,
evosessions.org.
Telangana. I can help him out.
Well, you'll just have to follow our links and find out what we're doing. And evosessions.org is where you find out about Electronic Village Online. And there's lots of material there.
Stevens, I can help him out. Yes, Jason.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're doing the best of EVO session, breaking it down into three parts. And can someone put the link to the tiny URL in the chat? Maybe Jane could do that.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, or even any of the links. But anyway, she's going to put the link in the chat, and what that will do is tell you where you can go to get information about what we're doing tomorrow. So we're back tomorrow in 2 sessions, one at 2 a.m. GMT, and another one at the same time as this one, 14 to 1600 GMT. And so all that stuff, really, you could go and read about it. Thank you, Jane. Okay, so that's if you'll just have to click on that link and go and read what we're doing, because otherwise you can see what we're doing. We're just talking. These are people who are moderators of EVO sessions who are giving presentations tonight, and then we have also people who are taking the presentations, and people who popped in from somewhere, who knows. But we're just talking about the sessions that people gave in January and February. And in next January and February, we'll give more. And if you're interested in more sessions, you can go to evosessions.org, or it's also evosessions.pbworks.com if you prefer, and you can find out how to get involved in EVO, how to take these sessions if you want. But you'll just have to click on the links and explore.
Vance, excuse me, what I did was I added the link to Groups.io for the EVO community.
Okay, that's where you
I'll
want
add
to
it
go.
again. So that's, yeah, if anyone's interested in joining the community, there it is.
You can interact with people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can learn more about next year's EVO 21 and how you can join the free session.
Yeah. If you join that group, the EVO community, then you'll be able to ask questions in the listserv, and we're quite happy to help you. Just it's hard to really explain it right now. We've just been online for 2 hours, and for some of us, it's a little bit late. But we're back again tomorrow. So go to those sites and find out what we're doing, and especially the tinyurl.com/EVO, /best 2020 EVO. That's the one that has what we're doing right now, what we're doing tomorrow, and what we've done tonight. So is there anything else that we can help anybody with? Okay, well, this has been the Zoom link for tomorrow. Here again, Jimmy, Sue, you can go to that link. Let me just show you if I can find it. I'll try and copy it, or maybe.
I can do it.
Yeah, I found it though. Okay, yeah, now I've got it in my buffer. Yeah, this is where you go to find out where the sessions are tomorrow. Find out all the stuff that we're doing. Just go there, and you'll find to that tiny URL, and you'll find a table of contents. Click on the links for the schedule for tomorrow, and you'll be able to read all about it. All the people have crowdsourced this information. The people giving presentations have been filling in a form, and that's what they're going to be doing tomorrow. So you can see what's going on, and you can also go to learningtogether.net and find the links. Well, you can, but basically, let's not confuse things. Just go to the tiny URL that we had there. Okay. Anything else we can help? Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Well, this has been the Best of EVO, part 1 of 3. There are 2 more tomorrow, parts 2 and 3 tomorrow, and there's a link we've been putting in the text chat, so you can scroll that back and find the links. I can even just put it here again. I'll just stick it there. It's in my buffer. Okay, there you go. So if you go to that link, you'll find out where we are tomorrow. This happens to be Learning Together, episode 445. And this is the 4th. Oh, we're in the 4th. We started in the 3rd, but now we're in the 4th of April, where I am anyway. And it's a little. Let's see. Well, in UTC, it must be. Well, it's 12. Anyways, it's a little after midnight here, but that would be 1600 something UTC. 4th of April, 2020.
That's because Vance is in Malaysia.
Yeah, I'm in Malaysia. Yeah, and Jane
because
is in the
right
same
now
time zone.
it's still April 3rd here, so you can't fool me.
No. We're ahead of you. We're ahead of the curve. We're just a little bit up there, So
you're older. I'm younger.
Yeah, we're moving faster over here in this part of the world. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Here.
Okay.
Bye, Christine.
Bye-bye. Nice to see everybody. See everybody again tomorrow. We'll see you in the morning. Jane and I will be here.
Bye, Jane. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
maybe
bye.
maybe we could talk about Richard just brought up something about many children nowadays are going completely without education or to lack of connection, and there's a need for a new solution. Maybe we can talk about this tomorrow.
Okay.
There's but what about social distancing? Somebody asked me about that in India too, because they're not allowed to be outside, and they don't have mobile devices either, so they're all sitting in the house without anyone, with no education at all right now.
Absolutely.
Richard, would you like to say something?
It just struck me that we shouldn't neglect the fact that from what I've heard from many teachers in India, Nepal, places like that, and we know this, that connection problems are so difficult, and many teachers I've worked with have been using mobile phones anyway. not sort of stable online connection, but what kind of through their mobile phone. So it means that things like text become very much harder to use. Things that we just need to take account of, I think, if we're thinking about the majority of teachers around the world and the majority of students around the world, in the UK, USA, we thinking, oh, everyone's getting online. So many students in the world are not connected at all with their teachers. Isn't that right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is a real big problem at the moment. Yes. And as you say, Nelly, well, physical distancing. But, I've heard, well, Nepal, in India, they started to use radio much more to reach students. Of course, you can't have interactive teaching, but it's a way that some local authorities are trying to reach students. I don't know. I have no solutions. It's just something that we need to be thinking about, I think.
I did hear a solution for India. I gave someone an account on WizIQ for free. So he's teaching like over 200 students from India in an Indian language. I don't know, it starts with a P, I can't pronounce it. And what they do is, because they're all in the villages, and he teaches in this government school. So what they're doing is they're coming up to one area, they're staying at a distance, but they're putting their phones, and so that if one person has a phone, they're looking at the live session, say WizIQ or Zoom, it doesn't really matter, through the phone. And that's how they're learning. They can hear and talk. And so they're getting something. These are university students. So there are ways of getting people, I mean, they're not together too close. They're staying, like, you're supposed to stay, 2 meters apart. So they're not that close, and yet they could see the phone, someone's phone or someone's laptop. And that's how they're learning.
Some colleagues and I have started something, I've just put it in the text chat, something called, we're calling it Talon, Teaching and Learning in Isolation. And it's just something we just started last week, and we're inviting people to come into this space, tinyurl.com/Talon2020. And if you want to have a look there, and if you'd like to schedule a conversation, we think we have a lot of people who would like to talk to one another. There's also an archive of past conversations. We've only had one, but there were 21 people in that conversation. So anyhow, if you're interested, just have a look there. And if you would like to join conversations or instigate one, then please just put yourself on the list there. I'll host it in Zoom here, or if you have your own host, you can do that. So I would host it in Zoom anytime between 2 a.m. GMT and 1400 GMT. Anytime in there, I'm at home, so I'm not going anywhere. As long as we're in isolation, yeah.
Nobody's going anywhere. We're all at home.
Exactly. So there you are. So anyway, and people who are feeling they would like to reach out and just connect, and not only that, but discuss the things that Richard just brought up, you're quite welcome to put yourself down on a calendar there, and we'll meet you if you propose a time, and we'll host it, and we'll make it a learning together session if you want. So anyway, just have a look, and if it interests you, you can do that. Okay, well, thanks everybody.
I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's your recording. I'll stop mine as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So we're recording.
Thanks for joining us.
That's strange. Okay.
That's okay. I've got a master recording here, but I think you're recording on your computer. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.